topic to date.
Deputy.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. And I've seen many things in here, but I really think today beats all. Probably the biggest challenge facing humanity, and there's me and you in here, and we're discussing amendments from the Seanad which are, to be honest, virtually meaningless in terms of the content of this bill. Their only purpose is to give the Seanad a role in some of the toothless measures that the original bill is proposing. And given that the focus of the world is on what's happening in Paris at the moment, that Ireland is standing out as some sort of a throwback, which even this morning Friends of the Earth have roundly condemned the remarks of the Taoiseach over there, who revealed the Irish government's real attitude. I am, Ceann Comhairle, where basically the attitude, as being exposed by yourselves, is that your real action, your attitude to climate change is cynical and unsustainable, because you've actually admitted that you're not going to reach the targets that are there, that you've no intention of doing so, and that you've just really sought to justify them, and it's led to believe that the reason behind that is you're deliberately kind of doing it in the hope that the next targets won't be so onerous. Now, the bill that we're here discussing the amendments to is not an ambitious bill at all. It's a bill that's light on targets.
Deputy, I have to intervene. You know yourself, you're long enough around now. This is a simple amendment.
It is,
but go back to second stage.
Well, but the Minister did make points himself.
No, well, I'm sorry.
Well, he talked about how happy he was going to Paris and the overall things, and some broader points.
No, but I have to be fair here now and deal with the amendments before us.
The amendments before us, Ceann Comhairle, are absolutely technical measures which give a role to the Seanad in some of the original mechanisms in the bill. Now, whether the Seanad have a role in it or not is kind of irrelevant, to be honest. It's not going to have any impact on the bill itself.
I wouldn't be saying that about the Seanad.
Well, anyway. I'll do it now. Do you want? Do you want to? And then I'll carry on.
Presumably we can talk to the name of the bill before.
We'll carry on with 45 minutes. Well, we'll do our best to stick to the amendment. We know the discussion has been the discussion has been guillotined now to 45 minutes. I'm sure we'll be able to make all our points within that time frame, and we won't be delaying the Minister beyond that, so I think we'll be fine, Chair.
Yeah, I think you have to speak to the amendments, though.
Yeah, well, Deputy. We are, because they're all linked. All of the amendments are related to the heart of this bill and how this government proposes to achieve its responsibilities in relation to getting to our climate change targets. That's what it's about, and the amendments are dealing with giving the Seanad a role in that, so I would like to make points about that. And the problem is that the process that the Seanad are trying to buy themselves into as part of these amendments is a process whereby the government has a bill which is light on targets, light on action, light on substance, where you talk about reductions in emissions, but in actual fact there's no plan on how you're going to achieve them and no binding targets. So while the Seanad is seeking to involve itself in that process, it is indeed a very hollow process. And we have to put it in its context. The fact that we in Ireland currently emit 75% more greenhouse gases than China on a per capita basis. We're the second worst per capita polluter in Europe after Poland. Total greenhouse gas emissions for Ireland, with a population of 4.5 million, amount to more than the total for almost 400 million of the planet's poorest people. It is an absolute disgrace to listen to the commentary of the Taoiseach in Paris this weekend, and indeed comments from your other party colleagues, such as Simon Coveney, who talked about the reality that 30% of Ireland's emissions come from agriculture, but the agricultural sector is, in essence, getting a free pass from your government. And the Seanad buying themselves into that oversight provision, overseeing nothing is still nothing. Overseeing a plan that doesn't have any targets is still an unachievable goal. And I think what we did see in Paris was a continuation of the truth coming out, where your government has consistently been in denial over these issues. Actually, it's worse than denial. It's downright false presentation of facts. We know that Brian Hayes, when presented with the reality from the EU Commission that Ireland wasn't going to meet its 2020 targets, MEP Hayes is on the record as saying the complete opposite, that Ireland was on course for reaching its targets, when it was an absolute opposite of what was contained in that report. Within hours of him saying that earlier this year, you came out and admitted ahead of the Paris talks that it was no secret that we weren't going to meet our targets for 2020. So, you know, you went on then to assert incorrectly, I might add, that while we won't meet our targets, we're on a line to achieve them, and that evidence from the EPA, I have to say, flatantly contradicts what you're on the record as saying, because we are heading in a direction. The EPA itself says Ireland is not on track towards decarbonising the economy in the long term, in line with the Climate Action and Low Carbon Development Plan, and will face steep challenges post-2020 unless further policies and measures are put in place over and above those envisaged between now and 2020. So I cannot understand how the Seanad would look at this bill, see that reality which clearly spells out that we are not going to achieve our targets, and then decide that the only amendments they see fit to make are toothless ones that gives themselves in an oversight on that. We're not doing anything like enough in terms of what we should be, in terms of climate justice or other measures as well. And I think it has been a real indictment of your government's handling on it. Even the very fact that ye appointed John Fitzgerald to the Expert Advisory Council on Climate. I mean, Mr Fitzgerald is an able person, but he's an economist. He's not a climate change expert, and it sort of really set the tone in terms of how you view this issue and how you're really not at the races at all in terms of the global challenge. I mean, I have to say I found it frightening that Mr Fitzgerald, echoed by yourself, Minister, there a minute ago, where you said it's our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren who are going to benefit from this. You're way behind on this. This is about our children, and our lives are going to be impacted on that. The crisis is that urgent, and this government has done nothing to recognise